Hey guys, on this episode of Kemp Outside, we are going to continue our Learn to Fish series where we show you how to put monofilament fishing line on a spinning reel. Check it out. Hey guys, I'm Kevin with Kemp Outside, your inside source for all things outside. Today we're going to talk about how to put fishing line on a spinning reel. So if you like what you see, hit that subscribe button, hit that little bell icon that notifies you when we release new videos, and hit that like button for me. So Kemp Outside exists to help moms and dads take their kids camping, hiking, fishing, learn about nature, and develop a conservation ethic. And one of the best ways to do that is to take your kids fishing. Fishing is a blast. It is a great way to spend time together, and kids really enjoy it, especially when they're catching fish. And so one of the things we want to do is teach you how to go fishing so that you have success. So if you are brand new to fishing, if you are a mom or a dad who's got a kid who says, Mom or Dad, I want to go fishing, and you have no idea how to get started, this channel is for you, because we want to arm you with the information you need to get your kid outside and have it be a success. So we did a video recently on the 7 things you need to go fishing. So if you haven't seen that, I'll put a link right up here, as well as down in the description below. You can check that out. But we cover the 7 things you need to go fishing, and obviously one of them is a fishing rod, another is a fishing reel, and one of them is line. And so today we're going to talk about how to put line on a fishing reel. Now there are a whole bunch of different types of line. Primarily there are 3 types that people talk about. There's monofilament, which is the oldest type of line that's most common. People have been using that for a long time. And then there are 2 relatively newcomers, and that's fluorocarbon and braided line. And so a lot of your professional anglers have switched to fluorocarbon line and braided line, but monofilament is still a fantastic line to use for fishing, especially for beginners. And so I highly recommend, especially for kids, to use monofilament line. It's the least expensive of the lines and is probably the most forgiving. So I always rig my kids' rods up with monofilament, and I even fish with monofilament on occasion. So today we're going to talk about how to put monofilament fishing line on a spinning reel. Now, I've also done a video on the different types of fishing rods. So if you're not sure what a spinning rod is versus a casting rod, I'm going to put a link right up here, and then also one down in the description below where you can check out that video, as well as how to choose a spinning rod. So I fish a lot with spinning rods. I find that they are an excellent rod to use all around for lots of different types of species, but there are different sizes of spinning rods, and so depending on what you're fishing for, you want to choose the right size rod. So if you haven't seen that video, I'm going to put it right up here and a link down in the description below. So today what I want to do is I want to add some new fishing line to my son's fishing rod. So he is 11 years old, and he's been fishing now for a couple of years. We adopted him when he was 6 years old, and we got him fishing, pretty much right away after he came into our family. And so he has moved from the spin casting rods, the little push button reels, to a spinning rod. He's very excited about that, but we need to put some line on that rod. And so what we're going to do is we're going to put some Berkley Trilene. This is big game. I love the Berkley Trilene monofilament. I use their smooth casting line, I use their extra tough line, and their big game. I use all 3 types. And so the key to loading line on a fishing rod is making sure that it's wound tightly and neatly. Those 2 things are very important when you're putting line on a reel, because you want it to go on and off the reel without getting tangled or getting knotted or those kinds of things. And so there are some tips and tricks that I use to make sure that my line goes on the rod properly, and so it's ready to fish and I don't have a big mess on my hands when I'm fishing because I've got a tangle. So the first one is to know kind of how a spinning reel works. So this is my son's spinning reel. This is a Shimano IX. This is a very, very inexpensive spinning reel. It is, I think, $15. It's under $20. It is a very, very inexpensive reel from Shimano. So, a quick story. I took my son fishing one time and he decided to see if his rod would float. And so he dropped it in the water and then didn't tell me that, hey, Dad, the rod didn't float until it was on the bottom of the lake and we couldn't get it back. So I'm a little wary about putting some expensive fishing gear in his hands, and obviously when it's kids, you don't want to spend a whole lot of money. And so when he told me he wanted a spinning reel, I kind of looked for the least expensive reel I could find, and I found this one at Bass Pro. And I have to say, guys, I am really, really impressed with it for its price. Now, I fish with some higher end Shimano reels. My reels are typically $100 plus is what I like to fish with. I also fish with some $50, $60, $80 reels, depending on what I'm fishing for and where. But a lot of my reels are $100 plus, and so to pick up a reel that's $15, I don't expect much. But we have caught all kinds of fish on this reel. We've caught some big fish, some big bass. In saltwater, we've caught sheephead, and I think he's even caught a couple of sharks on this thing, and a couple of stingrays, and a whole variety of things. So I've been highly impressed with this reel. And so if you're looking for a very, very inexpensive spinning reel, maybe you just want to try this out, you're not looking to spend a whole lot of money, you might want to look at a Shimano IX reel. Now, there are a couple of things that are unique to this reel. One is that the drag is in the rear of the reel instead of up top. Now, what drag does is drag controls how much line is let off the spool. So when you're fighting a fish, you don't want that tightened down so that if the fish runs, it can't pull any line, because you're most likely going to break the line. So what you want to do is you want to let the fish be able to peel line off the reel when it's running, and then when it's not running, you're able to reel it back in. And so a lot of spinning rods have their drag set in front. This one has it in the rear. It just takes a little bit of getting used to. This isn't the only reel that has the drag set in the rear, but it is not super common. The other thing that this reel has is this reel has a trigger to open the bail. Now, this is really nice for one-handed casting, because how you cast this is you basically pinch the line with your finger, right? And then typically you take your other hand and you open the bail. And that's how the line comes off the reel. But in trigger-based reels, all you need to do is you grab the line with your finger and you squeeze the trigger, and it will open the bail. And I need to grease this one, obviously. So, and then once you cast, you want to close the bail. You never want to close the bail with the handle. A lot of people do that. That's really hard on the reel. You always want to close the reel with your hand, just like that. And then you're ready to reel in and fight the fish. Some people like trigger reels, other people don't. There are some pros and cons, which I'm not going to get into in this video, but it's just something that you may want to consider. Okay, so now let's talk about putting line on the reel, because I said that's what this video is about. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that as the line peels off the spool, that it peels off in the same direction that it's going to go on the reel. Okay? So a lot of people, they stick a pencil through here and they hold it like this, and they hold it and they reel, and this spins this way and this spins this way, right? You don't want to do that, because what that will do is it will put twist in the line, and then that twist can cause knots and things when you go to cast. And so what you want to do is you want the natural curl of fishing line to go on the reel the way that it's curled. So if you've ever seen fishing line floating on the top of the water in loose, sometimes you'll see it in curls. That's because monofilament line has memory. It remembers how it's been coiled. So you want to use that coil to your advantage and have the same coil that's on the spool on your reel, okay? And what I have figured out with a lot of these brands is that if you turn the spool label down, that when you peel the line, off the reel, see how it's coming off there? When you peel the line off the reel, that is the same direction that it's going to go on the rod itself, or on the reel. So I always put my labels down and I leave them sitting straight up like this. And then what I'll do is I'll take my end and I just put it through the first guide, the biggest guide on the rod, okay? And then down to my reel. So I'm going to slide this over here. Okay, now what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to tie this onto the reel using an arbor knot, okay? And an arbor knot is very, very simple. So when I have the rod sitting on my table, I open the bail, right? Because you got to have the bail open when you tie it on, otherwise you're not going to be able to reel it. So you leave the bail open, and then I just set the rod down on the table, okay? Now, with my line, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to tie an overhand knot, which is just like, you make a loop and you stick the tag end through the loop, right? And then you just pull like that, okay? Right? Just like that. So you have a little knot in it. So what you're going to do is you're going to put it around the spool and you're going to tie another overhand knot, and I do a double. Okay, make sure your knot is through there. Okay, just like that. And then what you're going to do is you're going to cinch it down onto the spool. Just like that. And as you pull, it's going to pull until it pulls against that knot that you put in it. Okay? And then as you work to cinch it down, okay, it's cinched down so it looks like that. Okay? Then what I do is I take my trusty rusty toenail scissors, because I use them in salt water, and I'm going to clip that tag end. Okay? So when I clip it, it looks like that. Now you're ready to put line on the rod. So what I do is I'm going to hold the line between my finger and thumb right there. I'm going to close the bail, and I'm going to start reeling nice and slow till I get line on the reel. That's good. Now what I do is I place my spool directly under that eye. Okay? So it's directly below it, standing up, label down, right? And so as I put it under there, I just reel. I always keep tension with my fingers, my finger and thumb right there, so it goes on nice and tight. And I just reel line on the reel. Now, one of the things that I want to make sure that I do is that I make sure that it's going on the reel evenly. And as you can see, it is loading up evenly. So I'm going to continue. Always make sure that you keep constant pressure on that line. You don't want that to get loose. Okay. So you don't want to overfill the spool. What you want to do is you want to make sure that you have enough of a lip right here that your line isn't going to spill off the reel. So I never make the diameter of the line longer than the diameter of this cover. Okay, so I'm pretty much done. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and clip my line. Always keep tension on the reel. So I've clipped it. Okay, so I can set that aside. That's my spool. Now I've got this little tag end, and there's a really cool little clip on most reels that allow you to store your line. And so it's this little thing right here, right? So what you do, and I'll just show you in a second. Get the line underneath it like that, and it just holds it for you. So I'll close the bail, and there you have it. That is how I load line on a spinning reel. You can do this with braid, with fluorocarbon, or with monofilament. If you're going to put braid on a reel, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to back the reel with something, because typically braid will spin on the arbor of the reel, on the center part of the reel. So you're going to want to back it with something. Some people put electrical tape on there. That's a good way to hold the line. Some people will load a couple of winds of monofilament on and then tie a uni to uni knot and then put braid on. That's what I do. Or you can buy a spool. A lot of companies, real companies, make spools that are braid ready, and you don't have to back it with anything because the braid won't spin on the arbor of the reel. So if you want to just load your spool with braid with nothing else, you're going to want to make sure it's a braid ready spool. So with that, that's how I do it. Guys, thanks for watching Camp Outside. Remember, we're your inside source for all things outside. We exist to help moms and dads take their kids camping, hiking, fishing, learn about nature, and develop a conservation ethic. So if you are a mom or a dad and you have a kid who's saying, I want to go fishing or I want to go camping, and you have no idea how to do it, maybe you didn't grow up going outside, this is the channel for you. We want to help you get your kids outside. So we'd love to hear from you. If you have any questions, drop something in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. Or you can connect with us on our other social media. We're on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and Twitter. All the links to those are down in the description below. Guys, I would love to hear from you if you take your kids fishing, especially if it's for the first time. I'd love to know how they did, and if you have any questions on how to make it a better event. So guys, this is part of a series called Learn to Fish. We are going to be covering a whole lot more. We have a video out on how to rig your rod with a weedless worm called a Texas rig. I'm going to put a link to that right up here or down in the description below so you can check that out. But there's lots of different videos out there, guys, that we're going to produce or have produced on how to tie knots, what bait to use when, how to target certain fish, all that stuff we're gonna bring to you so that you can take your kids fishing and so that you can take yourself fishing. Guys, I'm Kevin with Camp Outside. If you like what you saw, hit that subscribe button, that little bell that notifies you when we release new videos, and hit that like button for me. We will see you next time on Camp Outside. Bye, guys.